Hey y'all, it's your girl, Dr. Makeba, host of the Healthy Woman Podcast, a talk therapy platform curating healthy conversations so that women like you can serve God while also pursuing an optimal state of holistic health. Hey y'all, welcome to the Healthy Woman Podcast, episode 8. It's your girl, Dr. Makeba. I'm your host. So grateful that you are here to spend this time with us today. So if you are new to the podcast, this is your first time, maybe you rolled up on us, maybe someone shared a previous episode with you and you're here, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. What I would like for you to do, please, is either now or when it's done, please share this podcast episode out with just one person. I typically just ask you to share out with one person because I do not want you to try to think of 100 different people that you can share this episode out with. However, if you do have 100 people that you want to share this episode with, feel free. It will help us reach people a lot quicker. But what I want you to do is share it out with just one person because it essentially allows us to grow our platform double quicker. So again, thank you for being here. You are no longer a guest. You are now family. So welcome to the Healthy Woman Pod family. Now, if you are an OG listener, I like to call you my original gangsta family listeners. Thank you so much for being here. You always come through for me. I can depend on your loyalty. Thank you so much. It doesn't matter if you listen to us on the Apple platform stream or if you listen to us on Spotify or if you watch us in video format on YouTube, whatever it is, whatever your pleasure is. Thank you so much for being here. But what I want you to do is I want you to do one of two things. The first thing, obviously, is I want you to share this out with at least one person or as many people as you feel inclined to send it out to. Feel free to do that. But then I also want, if you listen to this on our Apple streaming platform, please do me a favor and give me a 5-star rating. The reason why that is so essential is because it allows us, you know how algorithms are, right? So the more activity we get on a podcast episode, then the more they think that that podcast episode needs to be shared out to people and it'll pop up so people can see it. So we want to grow our platform. We want people to get an experience of this healthy lifestyle for women and possibly men, but particularly women, so that you all can be who you need to be so that God can trust you with what he has created you to do, because essentially that's what we do here, right? So before we get started, you might not know anything about the Healthy Woman Pod or the platform. So let me just put you on a little bit. So I'm not a medical doctor. I am an education doctor, which means that I am 100% committed to the holistic education of women, whether that is the education on emotional wellness, mental wellness, financial wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, all of that stuff, because I believe that you need to be in the best holistic form of yourself so that you can fulfill God's promises over your life. That is what this is about. So, y'all, guess what? Guess what I got going on today? No one is even, y'all probably not even thinking that I would do something like this, but guess who I have as a guest today? I have my husband. On today. He is going to be my co-host, and we are going to have some conversation. I call it husband chat, but I don't know. What should we call it? I see how this gonna go. My husband, so for those of you who don't know, my husband is a man of very few words. He doesn't talk a lot. He's very quiet. He talks when he gets around his friends or when we get around friends that we hang out with, but he typically is not a big speaker. Like, I'm the talker. That is what I do. That's the gift that God gave me. I have the gift of gab. And so we balance each other nicely, right? So he doesn't talk a lot. So you can imagine, like, when we're having conversation at home, like heated conversations, also known as arguments. Or if we don't have arguments, do we?
Not really.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
because he told me early on, I don't like to argue. And I'm like, well, I do. Not really. I didn't. Did I?
Yeah, you said you like.
You
like to conversate.
I conversate. I like to converse. I do like to talk. I do like to talk. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that in a few minutes. So, babe, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Really?
Yes. Surprise?
Oh my gosh. Y'all, this man does not come to bed. Like, I don't even know what time he come to bed because I am knocked out probably in my second level of sleep because he stays up until like late at night. So what, on average, what time do you come to bed?
Probably midnight, 1.
I was going to say, not midnight.
Well, maybe. You go to bed at 8:30, so that's
I do
fair.
not.
Yes.
I don't go to bed at 8:30. I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock because I need to get at least 7 hours, between 6 to 8 hours of sleep, because I understand the benefit of sleeping.
And we, I get into bed and we get up at 5 o'clock to go to the gym, and you get your 7 to 8 hours, and you still be tired. And I pop up like, let's go.
Really? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I do.
That
happens.
That's how it happens. Seriously. That's how it happens.
That's how it happens.
Okay. You know, it's amazing how we have different perceptions of how things happen. I don't think that that's how it happens, but okay. Next one, sweet or savory food?
Savory.
What's your favorite dish?
You know,
what's your background? So that'll give us context for that question. So what's your background?
I like all things Caribbean. We'll just put it like that. I like spicy foods.
Yeah.
I like fruits and vegetables that are I don't know, from the tropics.
Okay. All right. So you gonna tell people what your background is?
My background is I was born in Jamaica, and so my parents are both Jamaican. My siblings are Jamaican, so I'm a full-fledged Jamaican.
Full-blooded. You gonna give us a little bit of?
No, I'm not give you nothing.
He did it. He gave us a little bit, y'all. Maybe I'll get him to say some more. We're not gonna get into this conversation because he always tell me when I try to say the word patois. Patois. I did it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
he is such like a gatekeeper of the language of Caribbean Jamaicans, because I know I said it right, and he'll always tell me you didn't say it right, or he'll burst out laughing. Whatever. I know I did it right. Number 3, country or city living?
Country.
Really?
Yes.
You've been living in the city all your life.
I know. But
in Jamaica,
I was in the country.
You lived in the country.
I live in the country, and so I feel a lot more at peace when I'm driving through a country. Like I was in New Jersey last month, and it was almost like in the countryside. It reminds me of Jamaica because it was a lot of hills and valleys and cows and pigs and sheep and all that, and it's something that I'm just naturally gravitate to. City living is really not for me.
I think the older you get, huh?
You
don't really like city living. But babe, I'll try to get you moved to the suburbs. You ain't trying to hear it.
We are in the suburbs.
We're actually in the city suburbs. Like we are literally right across the street from Chicago.
But we're in the suburbs.
We're okay. Lord have mercy. All right. Well, that was rapid fire. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. I passed.
You passed. You did really good. So, y'all, the whole purpose of this episode today, like number one, I wanted to invite my honey on the platform because I want to just open us up and share with people about us. So we just got married in December of 2023. So we've only been married, 4 months? It'll be 4 months tomorrow.
Yeah,
4 months tomorrow.
Yes, happy anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary. When this comes out, we will have been married for 4 months. But we were together for how long?
5 years.
We were together for 5 years, and then we got married. And so I just kind of want to open us up to the audience and to our listeners, kind of give them a little insight into us as individuals and us as a couple. I just always think that because this platform is so highly focused on wellness, emotional wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness, all of that, I think that relational wellness plays a role in all of that, because in relationships is where sometimes our mental wellness and our emotional wellness and sometimes our physical wellness becomes challenged, because there's so many different emotions that play a part in relationships. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's always a good idea to bring like a relational wellness conversation into the picture. And a couple of episodes ago, I did have Sean on. Sean is your frat brother, and he's also a really great friend of yours and like a big brother to me. And he brought in a really great perspective about men. Mm-hmm. And so even though this platform is specifically for women, I think from an indirect standpoint, men can learn a lot. And just learning about women. And so I just kind of wanted to bring your perspective in on dealing with me. And, you're divorced, I'm divorced, and how all of that played a role into the existence of Clive and Makeba, us being here. And then, you're a little bit older than me. And so I think it's kind of a good idea to talk about from that angle also, because we're almost 10 years apart?
No, 8.
Almost. I said the word almost.
8.
We're 8 years apart, but given the time of year, it's 9 years. So like 6 months of the year, we're 8 years apart. 6 months of the year, we're 9 months apart. 9 years apart. Did you know that?
You're the mathematician.
He didn't even know that, but that is.
You'd be mathing.
So, I'll be mathing. All right. So let's get started.
Okay.
Let's talk about our meeting story.
Okay. Our meeting story is, I have one story and she has a different story. We met at a church event off-site on a Friday afternoon.
It wasn't at church.
Yeah. And she came and she sat across from me at the table. I'm giving you Reader's Digest version.
Because I get a whole digest story.
I noticed her, but I thought that she was cute. And I was like,
I'm a whole grown woman, and y'all, I'm cute.
And she was taller than I am accustomed to.
Delvin was there.
I know Delvin was
there.
Delvin,
you were there. Remember?
I was there.
You were there.
Yes.
You were there.
And so I didn't think anything of it. We were there for a get together, so to speak. And I had to leave because it was my weekend to have the kids, so I left early. We ate and had some refreshments, and I left. And that was the end of it.
That's how we met.
And she remembered what I ate, how many French fries I had on my plate.
No, I don't.
The soft drink that I had.
It wasn't a soft drink.
It was, what was it?
You had an Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, it was Arnold Palmer. It's lemonade and iced tea.
That's not a soft drink.
It's soft to me. Anything alcohol in is liquor.
That's hard. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah.
So I'll add to this story just a little bit, but he's not off. So I was newer to Chicago. So we met in 2018. I got here in 2017. And so in 2018, I had moved into like this studio apartment, and one of my sorority sisters / friends, also his friend, saw me in Mariano's, and she yelled my name across the store. And I'm like, who in the world knows me in Mariano's? Like, no, I'm not even from here. And it happened to be Larvetta. And Larvetta said, hey, girl, I know you don't go out a whole lot and you don't know anybody here. So Divorce Care is having this event where we're meeting up at Bar Louie and want to know if you would come. So Divorce Care. So I went through our church's Divorce Care season 1. You didn't mention that. Season 1, went through Divorce Care season 1. It was the inaugural Divorce Care. Delvin was there. We didn't know what we was doing. Everything was new. Clyde, you went through
season 2.
Season 2.
Yep, right after you.
Right after me. But I'm going to put this out there. We did not meet in divorce care.
Nope.
We don't want to put that out there because we don't want divorce care to be like this place where you meet up with people. So we didn't meet up at divorce care. I didn't even know that who he was. I didn't even know that he went to divorce care. Larvetta invited me to Bar Louie, not even wanting to matchmake. Like Larvetta just wanted me to come to get out the house. So I got to Bar Louie and I immediately noticed this guy like sitting across from me. And I was not in a position to be looking for any relationship because I had literally just gotten released from one. And I kept looking at him. I was like, oh, he's very attractive, very attractive. And he's sitting across from me, y'all. He did not look at me one time. He didn't say 2 words to me. He claims that he said that I was tall and I was cute, but I would have never known that because he never, ever gave me any attention. But I knew exactly what he ate. He had salmon sliders. He had salmon sliders and he had...
How many fries on the plate?
I don't know how many fries she had. But he had that and he had an Arnold Palmer. And you know what's interesting is Clive and I have been together for almost 6 years and I've never seen him order that ever again.
I do order Arnold Palmer.
You have never ordered
when I
an
go out
Arnold
to
Palmer.
corporate events and stuff like that.
He does all this stuff when he's not with me. And then he says that he does. For instance, the shoes that he says. Anyway, my husband has shoes, like all these shoes up against the wall. And I'm like, babe, you don't even wear those shoes. He was like, when you weren't here, I do wear them. So everything is when I'm not around that he wears stuff. And like anyway. So that was that. So that night I went home and I did some detective work because I literally am a detective. And I found him on Facebook and I sent him a friend request on Facebook. And this is where our story gets a little crazy because he says it didn't happen this way, but it did happen where he literally accepted my friend request 2 seconds after I sent it to him. You didn't do that?
No, I did
when
not.
When did you accept our friend request?
I think it was the next day or something.
That is so not true.
I think it was the next day. Babe, but the point is,
I'm gonna tell you why that's not true.
Time out. Here's the thing. You friended me, and I accepted.
You did.
I did not friend you.
No, you didn't.
All right,
you did not friend me.
Let's keep that in perspective.
Whatever. So I did friend him. He accepted the friend request. When he did is still, we don't know because he's not going to admit to doing it right away. And we became friends on Facebook. We never talked again for a very long time. And I saw him. So this is a Friday night. I saw him going to our church when our church was meeting at UIC. And I was coming out of the 9 o'clock service and he was coming in with his daughter to the 11 o'clock service. We were in the parking lot and I was like, oh my God, there's that guy. And I walked past him and I said, hi. And he was like, hey, and kept walking with his daughter. Like he didn't even remember me. He didn't even remember me, y'all. And I was like, well, I am not even 2 days memorable. So we never talked. We didn't talk for a long time after that. And then one day, what happened? I'm going to let you tell this part. See if you get it right.
Well, a lot of times you post things that are very conversationalist type of posts and a lot of motivational posts. And so I like your posts, and I was like, oh, I like that. And so one day I messaged you. And in
other words, he came up in my DM.
Yeah, here we go. I messaged you about a particular post and I was like, that really resonated with me. And so I was like, and then you responded back and I responded and then you responded. And then next thing you know, we were DMing each other for like an hour or so straight. So,
yep. And then that's how it started. So then that day, I think we talked on the phone finally. And
through Messenger.
Yeah, we didn't share our phone numbers for a while. And then we went out on our first date.
On Labor Day.
And where'd you take me?
To Lincoln Park Zoo.
He took me to the zoo, y'all. He took me to the zoo.
And I told her because
Delvin, where did you take Tasha on her first date?
The first date we went to, and I'm holding their dog, by the way, too. That's a whole other story.
That's my baby dog, Milo.
The first date, I think we went to, where did we go? We went to the Angry Crab. So we actually went to go get some seafood boil. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we went to Lincoln Park Zoo, and what did you tell me?
I told her since she's from Florida and she doesn't have any family here, I was taking her to go see her family at the zoo. I was trying to be a
You
comedian.
being so funny.
Yeah.
So he tried to say that my family was at the zoo. That's what he tried to say. This was his way of warming me over.
Yeah.
And then we went to he's Caribbean, so we went to
Jamaican.
Okay, he wants to be known as he's Caribbean, but he's Jamaican Caribbean because there's so many different. So he's Jamaican, and he took me to a Jamaican restaurant in Evanston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna go.
We're not gonna go there, but that was a very good experience, and that's how we met.
Yep.
That's how we met. Almost 6 years ago. So 2018, Labor Day was our very first date. So, babe, what took us so long? Like, we dated for 5 years.
Yeah. I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready?
I wasn't ready. I was going through a very, very bad divorce. And so I said I will never do this ever again. And I told you
get married.
Yeah. I said I don't want to get married.
Yeah, he did tell me that.
I'm just like, this is not for me. And so
he told me that pretty early on too. He told me that we had a conversation. He was like, I don't want to get married again. And what did I say?
I want to get married.
I said, well, I don't know how this gonna work then because I'm a wife. Like, I want to get married again. So I don't know how this gonna work.
Yeah. And I kept you around for a while. No, just kidding. No, it was more so the fact that I was so hurt and I internalized a lot of things. I was angry and I didn't want anybody to receive that anger from me because I wasn't in a good space for for probably the first 3 years of us being together. And through going to therapy and talking and laying on Delvin's couch and he'll be my shrink at times, things like that. Talking to Larvetta, talking to really good friends of mine who uplifted me because I was in a very deep, dark space. And so marriage was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah. So you in the beginning, like, you weren't ready. And then it transitions to I wasn't ready.
Right.
Yeah. That's weird. So for the first 2 or 3 years, he was like, I don't want to get married. I like what you said about therapy though. And I want to come back to that in a minute. But it's so interesting how all this happened. Cause for those 3 years when he said that he wasn't ready, I don't know if it was so much that I was ready to actually get married, but I knew that I wanted to get married. Whereas in those 3 years, he wasn't ready. He knew he didn't want to get married. And I don't even think emotionally, he was even making space for that. And then when he got ready, he was ready because so a lot of people don't know that we were engaged for 2 years prior to getting married. We didn't make that public. But you asked me to marry you the day after my birthday, 2022.
Okay.
2021. And so he asked me to marry him December 22nd, 2021. And so he was ready to get married. Then I wasn't ready to get married. And I wasn't ready. It wasn't that I was having cold feet about getting married, but I think that just with a lot of the stuff that he was personally dealing with within his own dynamic, ex-wife, kids, different things like that. Then I was in this place of, I don't know if I want to do that right now. And then not to mention, there were things that I had to go to therapy for. So I went to therapy as well. The year that we did get married last year, the beginning of 2023, I actually was in therapy. My grandmother had just passed away, but then I was also in therapy for personal reasons. So for 4 or 5 months of the beginning of 2023, I was in therapy actually trying to do work to prepare me for something because I realized that we can't be engaged forever. Like we have to make a decision. Either we're going to get married or we're not going to get married. But I want to go back to what you said about therapy. So what made you want to, because here's what I know. So I have a few friends who are Jamaican, of Jamaican descent, Jamaican. Their parents, both of the parents are Jamaican. So they're full-fledged, bona fide Jamaican. Mm-hmm. And we've had conversation before, and one of the consensus of what they all say is that Caribbean men, and this is not just Jamaican, this is Caribbean men, because they have relationships with Caribbean men as well. They said that Caribbean men are very averse to counseling or therapy. Mm-hmm. And so when I talk to them, I'm always so proud to say, well, I'm glad my exact words are, I'm glad Clyde was Americanized for so long because he embraced the idea of therapy. Like I didn't have to push you going to therapy.
Yeah. Traditionally, I'll just put it, men as a whole, it's just not Caribbean men. I'm just going to label it. I just think men as a whole, when they think of therapy, they think of it's like showing a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. It's like the whole adage, like, boys don't cry, men don't cry. And so men don't seek therapy. And so from that perspective, a lot of times that stigma has been a part of our society where people think that going to therapy is, showing signs of weakness and you're not a male, you're not a real man, because real men handle that and keep it moving. And so I never told my parents, I never told, any of my family members that I was going to therapy because I don't know if they will accept it or not. So it's something I kept to myself. I talked to my dad, and my dad is a big prayer warrior, and all he says was pray about it and it'll be good, and a lot of people say just pray about it, and God will fix it for you. Like, what does that mean? Because you gotta do the work. Yeah. And even though you pray for it, you gotta still do the work to make sure that you're a whole person as well.
I feel like that's cultural too, a lot of times. Like on another episode that I recorded with a mental health therapist, that was one of the things that she and I was talking about when we were talking about women. And she was the one that brought up the whole prayer thing and how, like, culturally speaking, for Black women, and obviously now with what you're talking about, Black men, prayer, like from a generational standpoint, in our cultural dynamic, like they said, Black people don't go to therapy, they go to church. Mm-hmm. Black people pray. We don't go and air out our dirty laundry. Whatever happens, that's kept at home, but that doesn't help anybody. And so I remember when I had Sean on the episode, he mentioned that with his father, at night before he would go to bed, he would kiss his mother good night, but he would shake his dad's hand because kissing his father was not allowed. Like, you don't kiss, men don't kiss. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, it's just so interesting how from a generational standpoint, culturally speaking, the dynamic of how we function is so different and so far spread.
That's true because, growing up, I love my dad to pieces, but my dad never told me he loved me. Mm-hmm. I think when I got older, probably about 10 years ago, first time my dad ever told me that he loved me. The first time he ever told me that he was proud of me. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that, and now when I see my dad, I was going
to say, he tells you all the time
now. Right. He tells me all the time and I hug him. Yeah. Hugging is not part of Jamaican man's makeup, unless it's opposite sex. So men don't hug each other. And so you're taught to be hard and you're taught to be stoic and things like that. So now I have a son, and every time I talk to him, I tell him that I love him. Mm-hmm. Every time I see him, I hug him. When he was a little younger, I kiss him on the forehead or on the cheek or something like that because, that's my son. And I'm a protector, so I want to protect my son. I want to protect my daughters as much as possible. So I have to show something that I wasn't given. Yeah. I wasn't given the nurturing or the emotional context of having a good relationship from a parent standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think I like how, because I see you with your children, and I love how, like, I wasn't around when you were growing up, so I don't know what the relationship looked like with your mom and your dad. But what I can tell is how you are very intentional about changing that dynamic. Like you want your legacy to look different than the legacy that was possibly embedded in you. And I mean, I love, and hopefully your children will see that as they become adults and, you know, they get older and have children of their own, and they can pass down that legacy. And hopefully, you know, what you've done has changed that. But again, I also see you around your father now. Your father is much older. He's in his mid 80s, and he tells you he loves you all the time. And I know how that affects you now, because I think there's a part, like, when you were younger, you wish that would have happened then, right?
Yeah.
You wish that you would have heard him say, "I love you" back then. But now I see, like, how your dad is now, and how y'all's relationship has changed. And even with him being full-blooded Jamaican, maybe have not been as open to that dynamic earlier. Now he is. So I love that. I love that. So, so we talked about, like, I want to talk about divorce. So, you were married one time, and I was married one time. And how did that how did that play a role in you? I know you said you didn't want to get married again, but why? Like, why was that such a taboo for you?
I went to therapy, and one day, I have an older daughter. She's 34, 35.
34.
Yeah. And so the therapist asked me to tell him about, my daughter's mom. And at the time when I was married, when I was going to therapy, or I was married before, he asked me, "Well, tell me about your wife." And then he says, "Tell me about your mother." And next week he comes back and he drew this correlation between my mom and my two exes. And it just broadsided me that I was attracted to what my mom was in these other women. And even though me and my mom had a good relationship, it was a hard relationship, And so my mom, God rest her soul, she passed a few years ago. She instilled an iron fist, Um, I did everything in my power to try to please her and not please myself. So when I got with my kids' mom, I did everything within my power to please them and not please myself. And so I said, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to look out for myself now instead of trying to make sure everybody else is good, And I always use the analogy, when you get on the airplane, it says, in case you lose cabin pressure, make sure you put the mask on your face first before you assist somebody else. I was putting the mask on everybody else before assisting, myself. And so now I needed that mask now to be able to breathe and to be able to survive. And so,
yeah. I know when I think about, like, so I was married, I got married in 1997. I was 23 years old, and I was married for almost 15 years. And so me and my ex-husband, we were both young. We were both 23. And we didn't like, the reason that we got married was we were both in the military and we were living together. And his mom didn't play that. My mama didn't play that. And we got married because we didn't want to be cohabitating and go against the frame of what our parents put in place and wanted us. So we ended up getting married. And I was in this marriage that was, by all accounts, perfect, right? When you look at it from the outside in, it looked like it was perfect. We had so many different people who were talking about how cool it was to see us around each other. We would actually, like, be inspirational to younger, I say younger, we were young, but like newer married people. We just had like this amazing dynamic, but it was a double life, right? Because my ex-husband had like this double life that he was living, like he was, chronically being unfaithful. And I didn't know what was going on. And so I'm bringing that up to say that after I got divorced in 2000, my divorce was final in 2011. I spent all this time trying to undo the traumatic damage that was done to me in my marriage, right? Because what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to come into another marriage or another relationship harboring all of these ill feelings against whoever I was supposed to get with and making you or that person pay for what was done to me before. And so I think coming into our relationship, I would always tell you, I'm trying really hard to not give you the same experience that you had with these other people, right? I will always say that. And I think at the same time, though, of me doing that, it was kind of what you just described, putting the mask on somebody else before I was able to put the mask on myself. And so I was trying to make sure that you were good because I knew what you had gone through. And I didn't want you to have to go through that again. But at the same time, I was not receiving the oxygen that I needed in order to live. And so I think, I think that was kind of like the catalyst that when I talk about those 2 years where I wasn't sure if I wanted to get married, it was part of that. So I was like, I'm doing all this to make sure that he's okay because I have a natural like proclivity to try to make sure that everybody around me is okay. Kind of like what you just described in your other relationships. But I was like, something's missing here. Like, I need to make sure that I'm okay. I need to make sure that I'm really healed. I need to make sure because I wasn't this jealous person. You would think that somebody coming out of a relationship like the one that I was in where I was cheated on for so many years, that I would bring that into our relationship and be extremely jealous of wherever you went. But I never brought that in. But I felt like it was because I was trying to make sure that you were good. I did not want it on my watch for Clive to be in a horrible relationship.
I appreciate that. Trust me, I do. Because we both have triggers, and and she has triggers. Like one of her triggers is the word "what."
Oh my God!
And so I don't mean anything by it. She said, "Hey," she's upstairs, I'm downstairs. "Hey, Clive." I was like, "What?" And she, "Oh, right." My trigger is I'm not a loud talker, and so one of my triggers was because this is what the traumatic experience I had is just yelling, constant yelling, whether it was my mom or my ex or whatever. So anytime you start raising that level of voice, I'll shut down.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna talk to me in that tone. I'm just gonna be quiet and let you rant. I get up and go outside or take the car and go somewhere because you ain't gonna yell at me.
But it's so interesting. Like, did you think I was yelling at you or was I just talking?
You've yelled, but you've talked too.
So he does have a point. He does have a point. And to bring context in this, so he does. One of his triggers is, I think, your only trigger. If I'm right. You don't have many triggers. But this trigger right here has been problematic for us only because I'm a loud talker.
Yeah.
And so I very rarely yell.
I know. I'll be like, "Babe, I'm right here."
Right. I very rarely yell, but because I'm a talker, because that's what I do. Like, I talk, I train, I'm a teacher. And my mom used to always tell me, me and my mom taught at the same school for a couple of years, and she would be in the library and it was connected to a classroom, and she would come and say, "Girl, I heard you all the way down there." Because I get it from her, like we both, but it doesn't, I talk through passion. Like, I just have like a loud way of talking. But for him, that translates sometimes to yelling. And I'm like, I'm not even yelling at you. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. And he would prefer that the conversation remains on a very low
this level right here. Honey, I am upset today, and I just want you to know.
That is not even realistic. that is not even realistic because emotions are attached to conversation and conversational tones will vacillate, right? And so what I used to always tell my hubby is, and I stand on business with this.
Oh, Lord.
I stand on business with this is a person's trigger can't be the responsibility of another person. Meaning I can't always walk on eggshells because I have to keep in mind your trigger. And vice versa. Like my whole stance on that is a person has to do the work to minimize the effect of that trigger. Because if that's the case, I'm going to always have to think twice about what I say, how I say, for fear of you thinking that I'm yelling at you when I'm really not yelling at you.
You just have a loud voice.
I have a loud voice. And so we're working through that. And I think we're getting better. I'm getting better at kind of mellowing out my tone. And he's getting better at understanding. I mean, let me know if I'm right or wrong. You're getting better at understanding that my tone is not harsh. It has no animosity tied to it.
No, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
So we're working on that. That's something, but that goes back to how my stance on awareness. So I am very big. If you listen to any of my podcasts, any conversation I had, I'm very big on awareness because I believe that awareness keeps a person from making excuses. When you are not aware of your behavior, then you're going to always make an excuse for your behavior. So I think this is our approach to being aware that, okay, my husband doesn't like the fact that I have a loud voice and I need to be more aware of, and I catch myself sometimes we're talking and I'll be like, I'll bring it back down because I know I'm getting ready to get elevated and I know he's going to be mad. And so I try to bring it back down. So are we getting better?
Yes.
We're getting better at that. We are getting better at
what?
that. So about the what thing though, I don't care. Like if I call him, if I say, hey babe, and he'll say what, I don't mind that. What I have a problem with what is if I say something to him and he'll be like, what? That's where it is like, who are you talking to? Can't stand that. I could not stand that. And I think that's as a teacher, I couldn't stand my kids to say what to me. Like that's just
I know that's not even Southern. That's even Caribbean. Even my mom. If I say what, my face would be on the floor.
Right.
So and you know, some things that I can't get, it's innate and within me. I say what to people as my peers, but like I say a lot of yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and yes, sir, and no, sir. Right. To this day, you know, even people that's younger than me, I'll say yes, sir, and no, sir. You know?
I'm the same way.
And so I was brought up to always address people as yes, sir, and no, sir, and things like that. So, yeah. I'm
the same way. I go through the drive-thru at a fast food joint, and the kid is like 18, and they'll be like, is that all? I'll say, yes, ma'am. It's just in me. Like, that's in me. So yeah, I feel some kind of way when, like, I was that teacher who would say to teach my students to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just old school like that. So, all right. So babe, anything else you want to talk about with marriage? How's marriage going for you anyway? It's been 4 months almost tomorrow.
It's 4 long months.
Oh, months.
It's going pretty good.
Has this experience been different? I mean, I know it's only been 4 months.
It's only been 4 months, babe. It's only been.
But we've been together for 5 years.
Catch me outside.
No. Catch me in 5 years. And let me see.
Yeah, you know, we know each other, you know, and now we live with each other. It's been a different experience because I was just brushing my teeth this morning, and I noticed that you got 6 toothbrushes and I got 1.
Me?
Yes.
I got 6?
Yes. I'm like, well, is it one for the molars, one for the cusp, and one for...
No, you know what? One of those toothbrushes is for my retainers because I have to clean my retainers with soap.
Okay. That's 2 toothbrushes.
Where's the other 4? I just bought another one yesterday because my dentist wanted me to get the oral one, the automatic oral one. And so I actually broke down and paid $50 for that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I love how it works too, by the way.
and you put that one in my spot. And
Hey, I didn't even know we
so
had
that's what we
spots.
argue
We got
about.
spots. We got toothbrush spots.
That's what we argue about.
We argue about toothbrush spots. Man, please. Delphin, do y'all argue about that?
I cannot do this. No. Spots about no, we don't argue about that. Now we do argue about space.
Space.
Oh yeah.
We argue about space, which every married couple will argue about.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. What we argue about something else too, huh?
That's about it.
So my husband is not the I'll say this, and I feel comfortable saying this because my own pastor, John F. Hanna, his wife said this, and so I feel safe and comfortable saying this.
Watch it now.
All right. But she did say this, and he laughed about it. But my husband is not the cleanest person in terms of picking up his clothes off the floor.
Okay. Don't say I'm nasty.
No, you're not. It's not that. Not that. But like, he'll just drop clothes on the floor and just leave them there. And I'm like, babe, for real? So that's another thing that we have intense conversations about. Because I don't know about that.
I guess I got to beat you home to go take them out the bathroom.
It's a good thing we drove two separate cars.
Yeah.
Clive, you leave 5 minutes before she does, and you get home. Right.
5 minutes.
That literally is how it goes. Because I'm like, I know good and well he just leave his guy dog. Yeah. So
I think the funniest thing is sometimes she always says the last person out of the bed makes it up.
Make the bed.
And so I work from home most of the time, and she leaves out, and most of the time I get up first. But when she gets up and turn on all the lights and everything. But that's another story. But it'll be like 4:00, and I know she's on her way home. I'm like, oh shoot,
go make that bed, boy.
And she's military, so she's ex-military, and you know how military people are with their beds. You can bounce a coin off of it, and so she folds the corners over and under, and measure the
I don't do
the
all
space,
that, but
2 millimeters from there.
Tight.
Yeah, and so I just like.
He does. That's all he does. And I'll come in and I'll see the bed. I give him an A for effort because he does make it up. But I'm looking at the sheet hanging all down the side. I'm like, all he did was pull the comforter over the top of this bed and made it. I said, well, I guess I can't be too picky and choosy about how he do it because at least he's doing it.
Yeah.
So, babe, let's talk real quick about because we don't have a whole lot of time, but let's talk about matchmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So you meet people, right? You have female friends, and you're a DJ. So you have female friends, and you're from this area, so you have more female friends than I do. You have female friends that'll ask you about matchmaking, right?
Yeah.
What's your position on that?
I hate it.
Why?
Because
I mean, they look at you and they're like, Clive is a really great guy. He's good looking. He has a great job. He owns his own home. This before we got together. All of this, they want somebody. They figure that you have somebody like you for them. You ain't match-made nobody yet.
So it's
he ain't match-made nobody yet, D.
So that's a trick question because I know a lot of my female friends are really nice, sweet women. And a lot of my male friends are already married. So that's a no-go. But the ones that are single, I have two really good friends that I would recommend to anybody, But the other guys that are single, I wouldn't recommend them to go walk your dog because they will walk the dog, literally, And so I don't want to I'll let them find out on their own. I've introduced other people to other guys to some of my female friends. And I'm like, I ain't telling them we friends or nothing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But the matchmaking thing from a guy's perspective is kind of I don't know what the word is, but it's hard to do it because I know my guys and I know how they can be.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them to.
Do you always look at it though from the perspective of the guy, or do you sometimes think about the girl and be like, nah, she ain't gonna be good for my guy.
Right. I've done that too, because I know female friends who are trifling.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, you trifling.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm like, I ain't hooking, hook me up with so-and-so, hook me up with so-and-so. They be scouting my Facebook page, looking at my male friends. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
You know, so when I feel like somebody is a good match for somebody, you know, you'll ask me and I'll recommend.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't tend to want to do that.
I was gonna say, I was just wanted to get your perspective from a male, because for women, I think we look at it differently. Like if I have a friend that asks me to like hook them up, or I mean, honestly, women don't do that. Like I'm trying to think. I don't think it's common for a woman to ask another woman, because women don't assume that women have other male friends like that. And most of the time, if a woman does have a male friend, he don't like women, so that's not gonna work. So a lot of times, women, when they're asking them their male friends to hook them up. But I think, like, for women, like if I have a friend who I can vouch for, and I know that friend is a really great person, and I know of a guy that's a really nice person, like I'm gonna.
If they're a solid guy, and if they're a solid woman, I'll definitely, do that. But if I have some, some back in my mind, like, I won't, so, and I tend to want to match them if they are compatible, because I know what my guys like.
Yeah.
And you have somebody that's coming in like, "Why don't you look me up?" I'm like, "Nah, you ain't his type, baby."
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I was just thinking about something else I wanted to bring up real quick, just because this is a wellness platform. So, do you remember the conversation that we had? So, y'all, of course, everybody knows me and my husband, we're not like the original married couple that met when we were in college and we've been married for 25, 30 years. We're not that couple, right? So my husband didn't see me gradually transition into this life experience, if you will. So I've spoken before how I'm a menopausal woman right now. Like I'm in surgical menopause. I, am going through the whole everything. My husband has watched me go through that because we've been dating for 5 years. I've been in Chicago. It'll be 7 years this year. And so when we met, I actually wasn't going through all of the transitional pieces of that when he first met me. So it was like over the last 5, almost 6 years, he's seen the person that he started dating. He's seen that person. Whereas a normal husband would have had 25 or more years to see their wife go through that transition, he saw it in like a 5-year period. And do you remember that time we were having a conversation, and it wasn't funny, but we were having this conversation and you said to me, "We almost didn't make it." You remember that? Yeah. So talk about that. Like what I know what you meant by that, but how difficult was it for you? Because you know what I went through. Like I went through bouts of depression. I gained 50 pounds over the course of the time that I moved to Chicago till like as of recently, I've lost 30. Thank God. But you saw what I went through, and you saw me doing all this research and listening to all these podcasts and lectures and trying to figure out, going to different doctors, spending money on this, that, and the other, trying to figure out what's going on. But even with all of that and watching me go through what I went through, it was difficult for you. So like from a male perspective, can you just talk about that really quickly? Like what did you go through and how did it make you feel to see me go through that?
It was hard to see somebody that you love going through those changes. And like you said, it wasn't like we met in college and you eventually changed. It was it was like this, and it's like 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're down. And typically, you could just walk away, but the thing that that impressed me about you is that you're really trying to get better, trying to find out what's wrong with you. And I think about things that can happen at certain age in men and certain age in women. And you look at it from that perspective, like I'm at that age where you get out of bed and your knees start popping. You get out of bed, your feet, start doing all kinds of different stuff. Your body starting to do it. So I was at that age, so I can relate to certain things that you're going through. But on top of that, I put myself in your, that could have been me. I have friends. I went to my high school reunion and I saw my friends who they have heart condition. One had a stroke, going through all these medical issues, and that could be me.
Yeah.
So why not have somebody that you can depend on, to go through that emotional roller coaster with you?
Yeah.
And so I felt like I've invested a lot of time. I invested a lot of emotional space with you, and even though we weren't married, it says for better or for worse, so I saw you at your worst, I saw you at your better. And at that point, I'm like, I'm not going to turn my back on you because you're going through those changes. And I know it's something that will eventually maybe subside,
Yeah.
or you get over. But at the same token, I put myself in your position, like the roles could be reversed. I went through my medical conditions, and so from that perspective, you were there as well. So
I think one of the things that I appreciated though, and when I asked you like what was it about the whole situation that made you say we almost didn't make it through? I think the thing that I appreciated and what helped us to make it through or get better is you actually started doing research on your own. Like you were looking up what is endometriosis. Like I don't know all the stuff that you were looking up, but I remember you telling me certain things that you were looking up because you were trying to understand what I was going through.
Yeah. I was looking at the TV show yesterday morning while you was at the doctor. and this lady, she is the 75th ranked tennis player in the world. She's American. She was 75th last year. That was her highest ranking. This year, she's number 15. And so she said last year was going to be her last year playing tennis. She's 25 years old. And so she was on Good Morning America, and it turned out that she wants to retire to have kids because she has endometriosis. And I saw it on Facebook, and people going in on her like, this is the prime of your life. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Nobody knows what's going on in that woman's body, and I sympathize with her because or empathize with her because it's not my body, and so a woman's body is very delicate, and you give birth, and do all types of different things. And seeing her from that perspective, even though you experienced this at 45, 50, she's experiencing at 25, and so to give that perspective, like, I was just like, wow, she's so young to be going through this, and so a lot of times we have to be cognizant of what happens in relationships when they say for better, for worse, or in sickness and in health.
I mean, so hearing you say that, like her being 25, 26, so I was 25, 26, 27, I just couldn't have kids at that time, but I totally give her all the props for putting herself first because 20 years from now, she could be me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like you said, like people don't understand. The world is so cool when it comes to really taking time to understand the effects of women's bodies. And we know primarily that's because we have a lot of men at the forefront making medical decisions. And so we don't have representation from a feminine standpoint to even be able to talk about the various things and nuances that women experience in their body. But for you to say that openly, I appreciate, and I would hope that if there are any women looking at this who has issues with their spouses or with their significant others and trying to get them to understand the role that they're taking with this, our bodies are going to transition, right? Our bodies are going to go from great to good to not so good to struggling. It's just a natural form of progression. How we approach that is what we put into it, working out, eating right, whatever, but you can't stop your body from progressing and transitioning, right? And so I think that one of the things that my hubby did was he took time to research, and he took time. He knew what was affecting me, and he felt it. Like, man, I could be laying next to him and all of a sudden my whole body would be wet and dripping and sweating, and he'd be like, what in the world is going on with with you?
Yeah, we have the heater on, the window open, the ceiling fan on, and the air conditioner.
All of it. All of it. All of it. And I still be, if I could have the window open when it's 20 degrees outside, I would, but he ain't having that.
And then yesterday we had that ordeal where we had to go to the doctor for you.
Yes.
And it was
it was. So y'all, I had my first colonoscopy yesterday. I'm 50. And I had my first colonoscopy yesterday and I was nervous as all get out.
You had to drink that liquid Thursday night. And,
that prep was horrible.
And she couldn't have any food. She had to drink all liquids. And here I am walking in with Chick-fil-A.
Y'all, dang. He walked in, he had Chick-fil-A, and then he went to Pete's and got this it was smelling so good. I was like,
think
what
that's
did you
grounds.
get?
That's grounds. That's grounds right there.
So.
You need a lawyer.
I think so.
Invest in a good lawyer right now.
And then when I was drinking my last cup, I drank my last glass of the prep, and y'all, I was trying, your stomach can't take everything. And so I was trying to drink it, and I went and sat down, and I felt it come back up. I didn't even make it into the kitchen. I said, ugh. He's like, what's wrong? He came. I started to say, it's because you had that Chick-fil-A, and you had all that other stuff, and I was trying to get it out. But yeah, but I made it through my colonoscopy. Everything's good. I'm doing good. I'm going to be healthy for at least another 10 years. I'm probably, so we're good. Mm-hmm. But, thank you, honey. Thank you. So we're going to get ready to close this out, but I just have 2 more questions. Number 1, what's your biggest dream?
My biggest dream has always been to walk my daughters down the aisle.
Aw.
I did one.
You did one.
You got 2
more. She got married last year. She got married the same year we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you have 2 more.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's my biggest dream. My biggest dream is just to see my family be successful and have long and healthy life.
Y'all, he's so simple. He's so simple. If you ask somebody else like what their biggest dream is, they're gonna be all exotic. And I know if you ask me what my biggest dream is, it's probably exotic. He just want to walk his daughters down the aisle. That's the kind of man I married, y'all. All right, babe. Last one. Imagine you are sitting, and I ask this question to everybody. Imagine you are sitting next to your 21-year-old self. Mm-hmm. What would you tell him?
Finish what you start. Because at 21, I was in law school, and I was going into my second year of my first year of law school, and so I only went 2 years, and 1.5 years, and I didn't finish because I had decided to drop out to raise my daughter, and so I look back on that, I could have done both, but because for whatever reason, I just felt like I had to do one. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is, when I went to college, I promised myself I'll finish in 4 years, and I did. And I said, I'm going to law school. I'm going to finish law school, and I didn't. And so that has been something that has been in the back of my mind. So I always tell myself, finish what you start, And so have I been successful at it? And obviously not. But I would tell my 21-year-old self and anyone that's 21, finish what you start. If you have a goal, if you have a dream, don't reach for 10, start at 2 and go to 3 and go to 4. Eventually you get there. So I would just say, finish whatever you start. If you have a goal, if you have a dream that you want to pursue.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I love about my husband, he has taught me this, is consistency. And that for me has been probably the biggest difficulty for me, is to be consistent, because I am a worker bee and I dream in full color, and I expect certain things. For the longest, I expected certain things to happen right away. And when they don't happen right away, or when I get tired of something, this could be the only child syndrome. I don't know. But he say I'm spoiled as an only child, whatever. But I've watched him in certain areas of his life, and Clive is very consistent. He is a consistent person. He's consistent with his children. He's consistent with his work. He's consistent with his DJing. He's consistent with showing up. He is a very consistent person, and that has taught me how to be consistent, and it's taught me what being consistent rewards. And so the Bible says that the Lord rewards those who are faithful. And he has shown me what faithful looks like when it comes to what he sets himself out to do. And so I told you before that that was something that I admire of you and that I thank you, because when I look at you, I know you're not where you want to be. I know you say I'm 58, about to be 59, and I wish I'm supposed to be here. Da, da, da. I know you say that, but I also believe that God has the ability to redeem the time. And he redeems it because of our faithfulness. And so just continue being consistent, babe. It's going to come, whatever you're looking for, as long as it's in alignment with what God has for you, it'll happen.
Let's make it work.
Let's make it work. All right, y'all. So it's your girl, Dr. Makeba. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special episode with my boo. My boo. My husband, 4 months tomorrow. So by the time this episode has been released, would have been released, we have been married for 4 months. So according to him, it's been a long 4 months, but whatever. I'm a joy to be married to. Anyway, if you are new to us, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please do me a favor and share it out with just one person. And if you're listening on our Apple streaming platform, please do me a favor and give me a 5-star rating, just letting me know what you liked about this. If you are a loyal listener, one of our OG family members, you know the deal. Share it out with somebody. Let them know how much you love this podcast. Let them know that this is something that they need to connect with. And then be sure to give us a 5-star rating as well. If you're looking at us on video on YouTube, please drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know how you like us. Let us know if we're still doing, having great conversation and doing what you expected us to do. Again, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And I will see you on our next episode. Peace.